Dr. Vextar looked at the screen with fear growing in his chest. The long-range sensors showed dark ships moving toward their moon. He knew those ship designs. Every peaceful species in the galaxy knew them. Krovar raiders, the Zalathi scientists. Crystalline body flickered with worry as he counted the ships. 12 vessels, all built for one purpose, taking slaves. His people had no weapons, no military, nothing to fight with. They were researchers, not warriors. "How long do we have?" asked Dr. Melina, her voice making soft musical sounds that showed her terror. Vextar checked the readings again. 6 hours, maybe 7. Their ships are fast, but they are still 3 million kilometers away. The Zalathi research station sat on the surface of a small moon. 43 beings worked there, studying the strange plants and animals of this distant world. They had been there for 3 years, making discoveries, sending reports back home. It was supposed to be safe. The Krovar never came this far from the main shipping routes, but here they were. Vextar moved to the communications panel with quick, nervous steps. His 6 legs clicked against the metal floor. The emergency beacon was something they had never used, never thought they would need. The red button seemed to glow as he stared at it. "Should we call for help?" asked Dr. Corton, from across the room. "Who would come? We are too far from the Federation worlds." Vextar pressed the button anyway. A message started broadcasting on all known frequencies, repeating over and over in every language the computer knew. "This is Zalathi Research Station Alpha 7. We are under immediate threat from Krovar raiders. Our colony has no defensive capabilities. We desperately need rescue assistance. Any civilized species within range, please respond. We have valuable scientific data and 43 souls in need of evacuation." The words went out into space, traveling at light speed toward any ship that might be listening, but Vextar knew the truth. No one would come. The Federation worlds were too far away. The other peaceful species would not risk their own ships against Krovar raiders. They would mourn the lost research station and its people, but they would not die for strangers. On the sensor screen, the Krovar ships kept moving closer. Vextar could see their formation now. The raiders were taking their time, not hurrying. They knew no one was coming to help. 3 systems away, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Dakota. The human ship was running silent through empty space, mapping star systems that no Earth vessel had visited before. It was quiet work, the kind that let a crew get comfortable with routine. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," said Communications Officer Lisa Chang. She was bent over her console, adjusting settings to get a clearer signal. Morrison walked over to look at her screen. "What kind of signal?" "Unknown alien species, sir. The computer is working on translation." Chang listened to her earpiece for a moment. "They say they're under attack by something called Krovar raiders, asking for immediate rescue." The bridge grew quiet. Morrison looked at the tactical display showing their position. They were alone out here, just one ship with 60 crew members. The Dakota was not a warship. It was built for exploration, with enough weapons to handle pirates or dangerous animals, but nothing more. "How far away?" Morrison asked. 3.7 light years, sir. If we push the engines, we could be there in 18 hours. Morrison studied the star chart. He had heard of Krovar raiders in the intelligence briefings back on Earth, slavers who captured other species and sold them. In the outer systems, brutal but not particularly advanced. Their ships were old designs, heavy and slow. "Sir," said Tactical Officer Ryan Torres, "we don't know anything about this alien species. They could be hostile. This could be a trap." Morrison nodded. It was a fair point. Humans were still new to the galaxy, still learning which species could be trusted. But the message kept repeating, and it sounded desperate. Real fear came through even when filtered by the translation computer. "How many Krovar ships?" Morrison asked. Chang listened to the message again. "They don't say, sir, but they mention having no defensive capabilities and needing immediate evacuation for 43 beings. 43 lives." Morrison thought about that number. 43 people who would die or worse if no one helped them. The smart thing would be to report the situation to Earth Command and let them decide. But by the time orders came back, those 43 beings would be gone. Chief, Torres, what do we know about Crovar tactics? The tactical officer pulled up files on his screen. They prefer capture to killing, sir. Slaves are more valuable than corpses. Their ships are heavily armed but old. They rely on intimidation more than actual fighting ability. And they probably don't expect resistance, added Chief Engineer Danny Rodriguez. Most peaceful species either run or surrender when they see Crovar ships. Morrison made his decision. Change course. Maximum speed to the alien research station. All departments prepare for possible combat operations. The bridge crew looked at him with surprise. They were going to fight Crovar raiders to save aliens they had never met. Sir, said Chang carefully, are we sure this is wise? We could contact Earth Command first. Morrison shook his head. By the time we get approval, those people will be dead or enslaved. We took an oath to explore space and protect human interests. But that doesn't mean we ignore genocide when we see it. The Dakota changed course, its engines pushing the ship faster through the darkness between stars. In the communications room, Chang kept monitoring the alien distress signal. The message kept repeating. But now she could hear changes in the alien voices. They were getting more frightened as time passed. Back at the research station, Dr. Vexitar watched the Crovar ships getting closer. 2 hours had passed since he sent the distress call. No one had answered. He had not really expected anyone to, but hope was hard to kill completely. They will be here in 4 hours, he told his team. We should destroy the research data. The Crovar must not get our discoveries. The other scientists agreed sadly. 3 years of work would be erased to keep it from falling into the wrong hands. They began wiping computer files and destroying physical samples. What about us? Asked Dr. Melina. Should we try to hide? Vextar looked around the station. It was not large, and the Crovar had sensors that could detect life signs. There was nowhere to hide on a research station built for openness and easy movement. We should stay together, he decided. If we must face capture, we face it as colleagues. Latapouan, Zalathi gathered in the main laboratory, their crystalline bodies dim with despair. Outside, through the transparent walls, they could see the first Crovar ships entering orbit around their moon. The dark vessels looked like predators circling, wounded prey. Dr. Vextar activated the communication system one more time. Maybe someone was listening. Maybe help was coming even now. This is Zalathi Research Station Alpha 7. Crovar raiders have reached our system. We have perhaps 1 hour before they land. If anyone receives this message, please remember that we tried to advance knowledge and understanding between species. We tried to build something good in this universe. He was about to turn off the transmitter when Chang's voice came through space, clear and strong despite the distance. Zalathi Research Station, this is the UES Dakota. We have received your distress call and are en route to your location. Hold your position and prepare for rescue operations. The research station fell completely silent. Every Zalathi stared at the communications panel as if it had performed magic. Someone was coming to help them. Commander Thakmore sat in his command chair and watched his fleet move into position around the small moon. 12 ships, enough firepower to destroy a small city. The research station below had no weapons, no shields, nothing that could threaten his raiders. This would be easy work. Sir, we are detecting another ship approaching the system, reported his sensor operator, a young Crovar named Dek Hai. Thakmore barely looked up from his tactical display. Just one ship? Yes, sir. Unknown design. It will reach us in approximately 1 hour. The commander clicked his mandibles in amusement. Some fool was coming to play hero. It happened sometimes. A single ship would arrive thinking they could negotiate or maybe rescue the prey before the Crovar could take them. It never worked. 1 ship against 12 was suicide. When they get close enough, warn them off. If they do not listen, destroy them, Thakmore ordered. I want this operation finished quickly. On the research station, Dr. Vextar and his team pressed against the observation windows, trying to see the Crovar ships in orbit above them. The dark vessels looked like hungry insects waiting to strike. The unknown ship said they were coming to help us, whispered Dr. Melina. But what can one ship do against so many raiders? Vextar did not answer. He was thinking the same thing. Whoever these aliens were, they were brave, but foolish. They would die trying to save people they did not even know. It was noble, but it would not change anything. We should tell them to stay away, said Dr. Corton. They do not need to die for us. Vextar activated the communications panel. Unknown vessel Dakota, this is Dr. Vextar of the research station. We thank you for answering our call, but the Krovar fleet is too strong. 12 ships wait in orbit. You should save yourselves and report our position to your authorities. The response came quickly, in that strange alien voice that sounded somehow dangerous even when trying to be helpful. Dr. Vextar, this is Captain Morrison. We appreciate your concern, but we did not come this far to turn around. Keep your people safe and away from windows. This might get rough. The alien captain spoke as if fighting 12 enemy ships was just another day at work. Either these beings had incredible weapons or they were completely insane. The UES Dakota dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system, its engines glowing bright blue as it raced toward the moon. On the bridge, Captain Morrison studied the tactical display with calm eyes. 12 ships, reported Torres from the weapons station. Standard Krovar design, heavy armor, plasma cannons, boarding shuttles. They are arranged in a capture formation, around the moon. Morrison nodded. The Krovar were positioning themselves to land troops, not to fight a space battle. They expected easy prey, not a real fight. Chief Rodriguez, how are our engines? Morrison asked. Running at 110%, sir. I can push them harder if needed. Medical, are you ready for casualties? Morrison called to the ship's intercom. Dr. Amy Watson's voice came back immediately. Medical bay is prepared, sir. Morrison looked around his bridge crew. 60 people on his ship, all volunteers who had signed up to explore the unknown regions of space. None of them had expected to fight a battle today, but none of them looked afraid either. Listen up, everyone, Morrison announced over the ship-wide intercom. We are about to engage Krovar raiders who are threatening peaceful aliens. These raiders make their living by capturing and enslaving other species. Today, that stops. We are going to hit them hard and fast before they know what is happening. Stay sharp, follow orders, and let's show these pirates what humans can do. The Dakota accelerated toward the Krovar fleet, its approach vector straight and aggressive. No attempt at hiding, no request for negotiation, just a direct challenge. Commander. Thackmore finally looked up from his display when the unknown ship entered weapon range. The alien vessel was smaller than his flagship, but moving with disturbing purpose. Most civilized species would try to talk first, maybe offer to buy the prisoners or negotiate some kind of deal. This ship was coming straight at them. Open a channel, Thackmore ordered. Let me speak to their captain. The communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, sir. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Thackmore of the Krovar 1st Raiding Fleet. You are interfering with a legitimate salvage operation. Change course immediately or you will be destroyed. The response came in that strange, dangerous-sounding voice. Commander Thackmore, this is Captain Morrison of the United Earth ship Dakota. You are attacking peaceful researchers. Surrender now and withdraw from this system, or we will stop you ourselves. Thackmore could not believe what he was hearing. One ship was demanding that his entire fleet surrender. The alien captain must be completely mad. You have 10 seconds to change course, Thackmore replied. After that, we will consider you hostile. We have been hostile since we detected your ships threatening civilians, came the reply. 10 seconds is up. The Dakota opened fire. Torres had been tracking all 12 Krovar ships since entering the system. The moment Captain Morrison gave the order, every weapon on the Dakota fired at once. Plasma bolts and missile streaks lit up the darkness between the ships. But the Dakota was not firing to disable or capture. Human weapons were designed with one purpose: to destroy the enemy as quickly and completely as possible. The first Krovar ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal. The second lost its engines and began spinning out of control. The third tried to return fire but found its weapon systems offline. Target their command ship, Morrison ordered calmly. Take out their coordination. The Dakota moved through the Crovar formation like a predator among sheep. Every maneuver was calculated for maximum damage, every shot aimed to kill or cripple. The human ship used momentum and speed instead of heavy armor, striking and moving before the enemy could respond. Effectively, Commander Thakmor watched 3 of his ships die in the first minute of battle. The unknown aliens fought nothing like any civilized species he had ever encountered. They did not try to disable or capture his vessels. They were not interested in prisoners or salvage. They just wanted his fleet destroyed. All ships, concentrate, fire on the alien vessel, he ordered desperately. But the Dakota was already moving, using the debris from destroyed Crovar ships as cover. When it emerged to fire again, 2 more raider vessels exploded under concentrated human weapons fire. "Sir, they are not fighting like any species in our database," reported his tactical officer. "They anticipate our movements and counter them before we can complete our maneuvers." Thakmor realized with growing horror that these aliens had studied Crovar tactics. They knew exactly how his ships would move, how his captains would think, how his fleet would respond to attack. But more than that, they fought with a viciousness that no civilized species possessed. On the research station, the Zalathi watched the battle in stunned silence. Explosions lit up the space above their moon as Crovar ships died one by one. The alien vessel moved between them like some terrible force of nature, bringing death wherever it went. "How are they doing this?" whispered Dr. Melina. "1 ship. Against 12? Dr. Vextar stared at the tactical display they had rigged to monitor the battle. "They are not fighting to capture or disable," he realized. "They are fighting to kill. Every shot, every maneuver, everything they do is designed to destroy their enemies completely." In 8 minutes, the battle was over. 7 Crovar ships were destroyed. 3 more were disabled and drifting. 2 had managed to escape into hyperspace, their captains choosing survival over duty. Commander Thakmor found himself alone on a crippled ship, his engines dead and his weapons offline. The alien vessel approached slowly, its weapons still locked onto his bridge. "Commander Thakmor," came that terrifying voice again. "Your fleet is destroyed. Your surviving ships are disabled. Leave this system immediately and do not return. If we detect Crovar raiders in this area again, we will hunt you down and destroy you." Thakmor activated his emergency systems and limped away from the battle site. In 30 years of raiding, he had never encountered anything like these aliens. They fought like the ancient stories his people told about the demons of the void, beings that existed only to bring death to those who threatened the innocent. The UES Dakota moved into orbit around the research station, its weapons powering down but still ready. Captain Morrison opened a channel to the Zalathi below. "Dr. Vextar, this is Captain Morrison. The Crovar threat has been eliminated. We are prepared to begin rescue operations. Are your people ready for evacuation?" On the station, 43. Crystalline beings stared up at their savior ship and wondered what kind of aliens had just saved their lives. The transport shuttle from the Dakota landed on the research station's small landing pad with a soft thud. Dr. Vextar watched through the station windows as the alien craft settled onto the metal platform. The shuttle looked different from any ship design he knew. It was built thick and heavy like something made to survive crashes and explosions. "They are coming out," whispered Dr. Melina, her crystalline body flickering with nervous energy. The shuttle's door opened with a hiss of escaping air. The first figure to emerge wore a thick suit that looked more like armor than normal clothing. The being was tall, much taller than any Zalathi, and moved with careful, controlled steps. More aliens followed the first one. All of them wore the same heavy suits and carried equipment that Dr. Vextar did not recognize. Some of the devices looked like tools. Others looked like weapons. "Should we go meet them?" asked Dr. Corton. Vextar felt his courage failing. These beings had just destroyed an entire Crovar fleet without losing a single ship. What kind of species could do that? What kind of world had created such efficient killers? But they had come to help. Whatever else they were, they had risked their lives to save complete strangers. "Yes," Vextar decided. "We should greet our rescuers properly." The Zalathi research team moved toward the station's main airlock. Through the transparent walls, they could see the aliens approaching. The leader raised one hand in what might have been a greeting gesture. The airlock cycled, and the first alien stepped inside. The being reached up and removed its helmet, revealing a face that made several Zalathi step backward in shock. Captain Morrison looked around at the crystalline being surrounding him. He had read the basic information about Zalathi physiology during the flight to the station, but seeing them in person was different. They were beautiful in an alien way, their bodies catching and reflecting light like living gemstones. "Dr. Vextar?" Morrison asked, his voice carrying strange undertones that the universal translator struggled to process. "I am Vextar." The lead Zalathi replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "We are grateful for your intervention, but we must ask, what species are you? We have no record of your people in our databases." Morrison studied the alien scientist. The Zalathi was trying to be polite, but Morrison could see fear in the way the creature's body dimmed and flickered. The captain tried to make his expression friendly, but he knew that predator features rarely looked reassuring to prey species. "We are humans," Morrison said, "from a world called Earth. We heard your distress call and came as fast as we could." "Doctor?" Amy Watson stepped forward, pulling off her helmet to reveal features that were clearly from the same species as Morrison. She immediately began scanning the Zalathi with a handheld device, her movements quick and professional. "Fascinating," Watson murmured as she read the results. "Captain, their physiology is incredible. Silicon-based biology instead of carbon. Their entire structure is crystalline, which explains the light-refracting properties. But they are extremely fragile by our standards." The doctor spoke about the Zalathi as if they were interesting specimens rather than people. Her clinical detachment made Dr. Vextar nervous. These humans examined everything like scientists, but there was something predatory in the way they gathered information. "Doctor?" Morrison said quietly. "Perhaps you could explain that to our hosts rather than talking about them." Watson looked up, realizing her mistake. "Oh, sorry. Dr. Vextar, I am Dr. Watson, Chief Medical Officer of the Dakota. I was just noting that your people have a very different biology from ours. I hope my scanning is not disturbing to you." "Not disturbing," Vextar replied carefully, "but we are curious about your world. You said Earth. What kind of planet creates beings who can defeat Krovar raiders so easily?" Morrison and Watson exchanged glances. This was always the difficult part of first contact, explaining to peaceful species that humans came from what the galaxy classified as a death world. "Earth is beautiful," Morrison said finally, "but it is also dangerous. Our planet has weather systems that can destroy cities, earthquakes that reshape continents, and many forms of life that compete for survival." Behind Morrison, Security Chief Danny Rodriguez was setting up a defensive perimeter around the landing area. His movements were smooth and efficient as he positioned sensors and weapons to watch for any remaining threats. "Sir, I am reading some geological instability," Rodriguez reported. "This moon has been mined extensively. The underground tunnels are affecting the structural integrity of the crust." Morrison nodded. "How long do we have?" "Difficult to say. Sir, could be hours, could be days, but I would not want to stay here much longer than necessary." Dr. Vextar felt a chill run through his crystalline structure. These aliens not only fought like demons, they could read planetary geology and predict disasters. What kind of world taught beings to think about so many different ways to die? "Your world," Vextar asked Morrison. "What is it like to live there?" Morrison considered the question while watching his team work. Sergeant Kelly Brooks was checking the station's life support systems, her scanner beeping as it analyzed the alien technology. Everything the humans did seemed to assume that danger was always present. "Earth teaches you to be ready for anything," Morrison said. "We have storms that can level forests, volcanoes that change the climate, ice ages that last thousands of years. We have predators that hunt in groups and diseases that jump between species." Dr. Watson nodded as she continued her medical scans. "Our evolution was shaped by constant environmental pressure. Species that could not adapt quickly died out. Humans, Survived because we learned to use tools, work together, and prepare for threats before they happened. The Zalathi research team listened with growing amazement and horror. These beings described their homeworld as if it was trying to kill them every day, but they spoke about it with something that sounded almost like affection. But surely your people have moved beyond such primitive conditions, Dr. Melina suggested, hopefully. Advanced civilizations eliminate environmental dangers. Brooks looked up from her equipment check. Ma'am, Earth is still trying to kill us every day. We just got better at staying alive. Last year we had 3 major earthquakes, a volcanic eruption, 2 Category 5 hurricanes, and a solar storm that knocked out satellite communications for a week. And people still live there voluntarily? Dr. Corton asked in disbelief. Morrison smiled, and several Zalathi stepped backward instinctively. The human expression of happiness looked disturbingly like a threat display to beings whose evolution had never included predator species. Earth made us who we are, Morrison said. We do not fear it, we respect it. It taught us that the universe is not a safe place, and pretending otherwise gets people killed. Rodriguez approached with his geological scanner. Captain, we should begin evacuation soon. The mining tunnels are more extensive than we thought. If there is a seismic event, this station could fall into one of the caverns. How many trips will we need? Morrison asked. The shuttle can carry 12 of them comfortably, sir. Maybe 15 if we crowd them. But given their fragile physiology, I would recommend no more than 10 per trip. Watson nodded in agreement. Their bone structure, if you can call it that, is incredibly delicate. Too much acceleration could cause fractures. Dr. Vextar watched the humans plan the evacuation with military precision. Every detail was considered, every possible problem anticipated. These beings lived their entire lives preparing for disaster, because their world had taught them that disaster was always coming. Captain Morrison, Vextar said carefully, your people saved us without knowing anything about us. Why would you risk your lives for strangers? Morrison stopped checking his equipment and looked directly at the Zalathi scientist. His forward-facing eyes and bilateral symmetry marked him clearly as a predator species, but there was something else in his expression. Doctor, Earth is a hard world and humans are dangerous beings. But our world taught us something important. The strong have a responsibility to protect the weak. Not because we expect something in return, but because it is the right thing to do. The captain paused, looking around at the crystalline beings who had created this research station, in the name of knowledge and understanding. You called for help, and we answered. That is what civilized beings do for each other, no matter what world they come from. Brooks approached with her equipment readings. Sir, the station's systems are all functional, but I am detecting stress, fractures in the foundation. We really should begin evacuation within the next few hours. Morrison turned back to Dr. Vextar. Doctor, we need to get your people off this moon. Our ship has medical facilities and quarters where you will be safe. We can transport you to the nearest civilized system. Dr. Vextar looked around at his research team. These humans were unlike anything they had ever encountered. Dangerous, efficient, and strangely protective all at the same time. They spoke of violence and death as casual facts of life, but they had crossed the galaxy to save people they had never met. We will come with you, Vextar decided, and we will try to understand what kind of beings would travel so far to help strangers. Morrison nodded and began giving orders to his team. The UES Dakota's medical bay hummed with quiet activity as Dr. Watson examined the first group of Zalathi evacuees. The crystalline beings sat carefully on specially padded examination tables, their bodies catching the soft medical lighting and throwing rainbow patterns across the walls. Dr. Vextar watched Watson work with growing fascination and concern. The human doctor moved with precise efficiency, her scanner recording data about Zalathi physiology that no other species had ever collected. But what worried him was how casually she discussed the dangers that humans faced every day. Your cellular structure is remarkable, Watson said as she checked Dr. Melina's vital signs. But I can see why you evolved on a peaceful world. Your bodies are optimized for efficiency and beauty, not survival in hostile conditions. What do you mean? Asked Melina, her crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. Watson pulled up a comparison chart on her medical display. Human cells are much more robust. We have redundant systems, rapid healing factors, and resistance to radiation, toxins, and extreme temperatures. Your cells are elegant, but they would not survive 5 minutes in Earth's environment. Dr. Corton, who was sitting nearby, leaned forward with interest. Your world is truly so dangerous that your bodies had to adapt just to survive? Earth has killed 99% of all species that ever lived there, Watson replied matter-of-factly. Asteroid impacts, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, changing atmospheric composition, shifting continents. Humans survived because we developed the ability to adapt quickly to new threats. The Zalathi researchers exchanged worried glances. These aliens spoke about mass extinction events the way other species might discuss weather patterns. On the ship's bridge, Captain Morrison was reviewing reports from his crew about the evacuation progress. Communications Officer Lisa Chang approached with a data pad containing information that would change everything. Captain, I have been monitoring galactic communication networks while we transported the Zalathi, Chang reported. News of our intervention is spreading through multiple star systems. Morrison looked up from the tactical displays. What kind of news? The Krovar fleet that escaped is telling everyone about us, sir. They are calling us the Deathbringers and warning other raider groups to avoid any system where humans might respond to distress calls. Chief Engineer Rodriguez joined the conversation from his station. Sir, I have been analyzing the Krovar ship wreckage. Their technology is actually quite advanced. They were not easy targets. The fact that we destroyed them so quickly is sending shockwaves through the pirate networks. Morrison nodded thoughtfully. Humans had been exploring space for less than 50 years. Most alien civilizations still saw them as newcomers, not as a major power, but word was spreading that Earth's children were not like other species. In the ship's common area, several Zalathi researchers were talking with off-duty human crew members. The conversations were awkward but educational for both species. Dr. Corton found himself sitting across from Sergeant Brooks, trying to understand human recreational activities. The human woman was describing something called extreme sports that sounded like deliberate attempts to get killed. You jump from flying aircraft with only a cloth to slow your fall? Corton asked in disbelief. Brooks nodded enthusiastically. Skydiving is great fun. The adrenaline rush from falling through the atmosphere at 200 kilometers per hour is incredible. But why would you do something so dangerous for pleasure? Brooks thought about the question seriously. I guess because humans need challenge and risk to feel alive. A life without any danger would feel empty to us. We seek out controlled risks because our evolution taught us that avoiding all danger makes you weak. Dr. Molina, who was listening to the conversation, asked quietly, what other dangerous things do humans do for entertainment? Well, there is rock climbing, where you scale vertical cliff faces, deep sea diving to explore underwater caves, motor racing where you drive vehicles at dangerous speeds, martial arts where you fight other people with your bare hands. Brooks paused, seeing the horror on the Zalathi faces. We also have safer activities like hiking and camping, but even those involve going into wild areas where large predators might live. The Zalathi could not comprehend a species that sought out danger as a form of relaxation. In the ship's science laboratory, Dr. Watson was sharing her findings with Dr. Vextar. The human medical officer had discovered some concerning details about Zalathi physiology that worried her. Your people are incredibly vulnerable to environmental stress, Watson explained as she showed him the scan results. Changes in temperature, pressure, or atmospheric composition that humans would barely notice could be fatal to your species. Vextar studied the data with growing concern. We have always lived in carefully controlled environments. Our homeworld has very stable conditions. That explains why your evolution optimized for efficiency rather than resilience, Watson said. But it also means your people are extremely dependent on technology for survival. If your life support systems ever failed, she did not need to finish the sentence. Vextar understood the implications. His species could not survive in hostile environments the way humans could. They were beautiful and intelligent, but fragile in ways that could prove fatal in an emergency. Dr. Watson, Vextar asked carefully, How do humans survive in such dangerous conditions? What makes your species so resistant to environmental threats? Watson pulled up a detailed scan of human physiology on her display. Redundant organ systems, rapid tissue regeneration, efficient immune responses, and the ability to function under extreme stress. But more than that, we developed behavioral adaptations. What kind of behavioral adaptations? Constant vigilance, preparation for multiple threat scenarios, cooperation under pressure, and the ability to make life or death decisions quickly. Humans assume that something will go wrong and plan accordingly. As if to prove her point, the ship's alert system activated with a soft chime. Captain Morrison's voice came over the intercom. All hands, we are detecting seismic activity on the research station moon. The geological instability is increasing faster than predicted. All evacuation, shuttles expedite transport operations. Within seconds, the human crew was moving with practiced efficiency. No panic, no confusion, just immediate response to a changing threat situation. The Zalathi watched in amazement as beings who had been casually discussing dangerous recreational activities transformed into a coordinated rescue operation. Dr. Vextar accompanied the final evacuation shuttle back to the moon's surface. He wanted to oversee the destruction of the remaining research data and ensure that nothing valuable fell into the wrong hands if other raiders arrived later. Captain Morrison met him at the shuttle bay. "Doctor, my geological team says we have maybe 2 hours before major seismic events begin. Are you sure you want to return to the station?" "I must ensure our research is properly secured," Vextar replied. "Some of our discoveries could be dangerous if misused." Morrison nodded with understanding. "We will go with you. No one gets left behind." The return trip to the station revealed the extent of the growing geological crisis. Cracks had appeared in the landing pad, and the station structure was showing stress signs that had not been there hours earlier. Brooks scanned the underground caverns with her equipment. "Captain, the mining tunnels are collapsing. The weight of the station is causing a cascade failure in the support structures." "How long do we have?" Morrison asked. 30 minutes, maybe less." Morrison turned to Vextar. "Doctor, we need to move fast. What absolutely must be saved?" Vextar led the human team through the station quickly, pointing out critical data stores and research samples. The humans worked with incredible speed, gathering 3 years of scientific work in minutes. "Sir, seismic activity is increasing," Rodriguez reported over the radio. "We need to leave now." As they loaded the last of the research materials into the shuttle, the moon's surface began to shake. Through the station windows, they could see cracks spreading across the ground like spider webs. The shuttle lifted off just as the research station collapsed into the unstable mining tunnels below. 3 years of scientific work and the lives of 43 researchers had been saved by humans who crossed the galaxy to help strangers. During the flight back to the Dakota, Dr. Vextar sat quietly, thinking about everything he had learned. These humans were unlike any species his people had ever encountered. They were dangerous, efficient, and strangely protective all at the same time. But more than that, they had saved his people without asking for anything in return. They had risked their lives, their ship, and their crew for aliens they had never met. As the shuttle docked with the main ship, Vextar realized that the galaxy was about to learn what it meant to have Deathworlders as protectors. The crystalline towers of Zalathi Prime reached toward the sky like frozen music, their surfaces catching starlight and transforming it into brilliant displays of color. Dr. Vextar stood before the Council of Resonance in the great chamber at the heart of the capital city, preparing to deliver the most important testimony of his life. The UES Dakota had arrived in orbit 3 days earlier, and the entire Zalathi homeworld was buzzing with excitement and fear. News of the human rescue had spread through galactic communication networks faster than anyone expected. The mysterious aliens who had destroyed a Krovar raiding fleet to save strangers were now the subject of intense debate throughout civilized space. Elder Krevnath, the oldest member of the council, resonated with harmonics of concern as she addressed the gathering. "Dr. Vextar, you have spent 5 days aboard the vessel of these humans. You have observed their behavior, studied their nature, and experience their methods firsthand. Tell us what kind of beings saved our research team. Vextar looked around the council chamber at the 47 crystalline beings who governed his world. These were some of the wisest and most experienced members of his species, yet none of them could truly understand what he was about to describe. Honored elders, Vextar began, his voice carrying careful harmonics of respect. The humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They come from a world that tries to kill them every day, and this has shaped them into beings who view violence as a necessary tool and death as a constant companion. Counselor Fellmark flickered with disbelief. Surely you exaggerate, Doctor. No civilized species could maintain such a perspective. I do not exaggerate, Vextar replied firmly. I have seen their medical scans, heard their stories, observed their behavior. Humans evolved on a planet where 99% of all species that ever lived are now extinct. They survived because they became the most dangerous predators their world had ever produced. Elder Krevnath resonated thoughtfully. Yet they chose to help us rather than exploit our vulnerability. What does this say about their nature? Before Vextar could answer, a new voice filled the chamber. Captain Morrison had been granted permission to address the council directly, and his words would become legendary among the Zalathi people. Members of the council, Morrison said through the universal translator, I understand that our methods seem violent and our world seems hostile. You are right on both counts. Earth is a dangerous place and humans are dangerous beings. But our world taught us something that many peaceful species seem to have forgotten. The captain paused, looking around the chamber at the crystalline beings who represented one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. The strong have a responsibility to protect the weak. Not because it benefits us, but because it is the right thing to do. We did not save Dr. Vextar's team because we expected something in return. We saved them because they needed saving, and we had the ability to help. Counselor Yelnova flickered with curiosity. But Captain Morrison, your species could easily dominate others through force. Why choose protection over conquest? Morrison smiled, and several council members dimmed instinctively at the predatory expression. Because conquest is easy, but building something worthwhile takes cooperation. Earth taught us to fight, but civilization taught us what is worth fighting for. The debate continued for hours as the council tried to understand these strange aliens who embodied everything the Zalathi had evolved beyond, yet used their dangerous nature to protect the innocent. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the news of human intervention was causing unprecedented changes in the criminal underworld. On the mining station of Kepler 7, a gathering of Krovar clan leaders was meeting to discuss the new threat. War Chief Groktar slammed his fist on the metal table, his scarred face twisted with rage. 3 fleets have been destroyed in the past month, all by these humans. Our raids in the outer systems have dropped by 70% because captains are afraid to encounter their ships. Sub-Commander Veclon clicked his mandibles nervously. The humans fight like nothing we have ever seen. They do not try to capture or negotiate. They simply destroy everything that threatens their protected species. How many ships do they have? Demanded Groktar. Unknown, War Chief. But intelligence suggests they have an entire planet full of these Deathworld predators. If they decide to hunt us actively. The Krovar War Chief did not need the sentence finished. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's most feared raiders were afraid. On Earth, Admiral Patricia Foster stood in the Strategic Command Center, reviewing reports from exploration vessels throughout human space. The rescue of the Zalathi research station had opened diplomatic doors that military conquest never could have achieved. Admiral, we have formal contact requests from 17 different species, reported Colonel Mike Roberts. The Peaceful Federation wants to establish formal relations. The Altair Republic is offering technology exchanges. Even the Centauri Trade Alliance is interested in defense contracts. Admiral Foster studied the star charts showing human ship positions throughout the galaxy. 60 exploration vessels were now operating in deep space, and every one of them had become a potential rescue ship for any species in distress. What is the status of the protection protocols? Foster asked. Dr. Watson's recommendations have been approved by the Colonial Council, Roberts replied. Any human vessel that receives a distress call is authorized to respond with full military support. We are officially taking responsibility for protecting civilian populations in our exploration sectors. Back on Zalathi Prime, Dr. Vextar found himself appointed as the official liaison between his people and humanity. His office in the capital city had become a center for xenological research as species from across the galaxy sent representatives to learn about the mysterious Deathworlders. Dr. Amy Watson had established a medical exchange program, teaching alien physicians about human biology while learning about the diverse life forms that inhabited the peaceful worlds. Her discoveries were revolutionizing galactic understanding of evolutionary biology. The humans are an anomaly, Watson explained to a gathering of alien scientists. Most species achieve civilization by evolving beyond their aggressive instincts. Humans achieved civilization while retaining those instincts and learning to direct them toward constructive purposes. Sergeant Kelly Brooks had become the template for a new kind of galactic security training. Her programs taught Federation security forces not how to fight, but how to think like predators in order to anticipate and prevent threats before they became crises. The key is not to become violent, Brooks explained to a class of alien security officers. The key is to understand violence well enough to stop it before it starts. You cannot protect peaceful beings if you cannot think like the dangerous ones who might threaten them. 6 months after the rescue of the Zalathi Research Station, Captain Morrison returned to Earth as a hero, but his final log entry captured the complexity of humanity's new role in the galaxy. The Zalathi called for rescue, and they got Deathworlders instead. They wanted salvation from civilized beings, and they got predators from a world that breeds survivors. But maybe that is exactly what the galaxy needed. Morrison paused his recording, looking out at the blue-green world that had shaped his species into the guardians they had become. We are not the heroes of this story. We are just the ones willing to do what needs to be done when civilized beings cannot or will not. The universe is a dangerous place full of threats that peaceful species cannot handle alone. But they do not have to face those threats alone anymore. The captain completed his log entry with words that would become the unofficial motto of human space forces. We stand watch in the dark, ready to answer when the civilized worlds call for help. The establishment of the Human Protection Protocols marked the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. Across thousands of star systems, peaceful species could pursue knowledge, art, and philosophy, knowing that predators from Earth stood ready to defend them against the dangers of an uncertain universe. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or explorers, but as the guardians who answered distress calls and protected those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy's Deathworlders had become its protectors, and the civilized worlds could sleep safely knowing that, somewhere in the darkness, humans were watching.